None of that happened, and you're a great musician. What's going on? He said, I don't have time to really study my scores. No, pal, you don't have time not to study your scores. You're here to teach music. You're not here to put up chairs. I said, the kids can do that, because they won't do it as well as I do. I know that, but they can do that. They can't study your scores. So, it goes on like that. I'm just going to read a little bit of a letter he sent me. I won't go through the whole thing. He said, so now it's 1 month later from your visit. Number one, we have a student leadership program in place. They don't do everything as well as I want them to, but admittedly, they're taking ownership of their band. I'm listening in rehearsals. I'm recording each one. I'm musically diagnosing what needs to happen. The students love the fact the band is improving. Or as one trumpet player said, you sure have changed, and we sure like the new Mr. Johnson better than the old one. The new one's really a great musician. The students are having their own sectional. I coach them a little bit, but they're the ones in charge. You know, Mr. L, it's amazing how many students I really didn't know. 5 former bandsmen are now back. Their friends convinced them that things were much better. I'm trying to proact instead of react. This is a hard one for me, because each time I get upset, I have to stop and think, what's best for the students? My wife told me how much different I am, and how much more she likes this person. Things are much, much, much better. Wink, wink. Good boy. Mr. L, I've come a long way, but there's no question I'm headed in the right direction. I have no intention of turning back. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'll always be your student. Love, John. He is now teaching in college. He's band director. And he just was taking time doing stuff he didn't need to do. And you know why we do that stuff? At least why I do it. So I don't have to do the other stuff. And I still feel like I'm making a difference. So student leaders want to do that. They want to own the band. They want to take ownership of that whole thing that in many cases is their whole life. You know, it's the old quote. I wrote it down here. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. So, we're all so excited about having everything perfect. We got to go back to the fundamental and wake up the giant with music, because that's why we have it in the first place. Here's the second thing. This hurts. The program is a reflection of the director, of you. Now, is it 100%? No. There's certainly circumstances that really are getting away. They're firewalls. But for the most part, it's a reflection of you. And we all know we can't give away what we don't have. So the more we come to events like this, and the more we have guests in, and we trade with our local director, and he and she, and back and forth, and that's what counts. So I have this wonderful hang-to-not quote. Some of you heard me say it several times. It says, I've come to the frightening conclusion that I am the decisive element in the classroom. That it's my personal approach that creates the climate. That it's my daily mood that makes the weather. I possess a tremendous power to make a life miserable or a life joyous. I can be a tool of torture, or I can be an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate him, or I can humor him. I can hurt him, or I can heal him. But every situation, it will be my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, and a child humanized or dehumanized. Well, that drops a lot on your shoulders. How many are in this room because of a music teacher? How many might not be in this room had your life not intersected with that person? And you wonder how important you are? Well, I'm only one person. I can't make a difference. That's what does make the difference. That's why you're here. Some one person hooked you, got you into this mess, and now you can't get out of it, right? And all your students go, I want to be like you. You're like, go back, go back, go back. You know, when I hear people, I got students, and I'm trying to discourage them, I'm like, how much louder can a kid yell, I love you, than I want to be like you? And we all have our members, and we want to be like them. Mr. Dunn passed away 2 days ago, and I don't know what I'm going to do without him. And he would always say, Tim, call me Earl. Oh, God, no, I'm not going to call you Earl. I don't want you to be my buddy. I want you to be my mentor. I want you to be Mr. Dunn. I want you to be the person that when I'm in trouble and I don't know what to do and I'm ready to kick something that I can call and you can lead me through it. One person does make a difference. Now, some of you I've been with this summer heard me talk about this. And when I do the student leadership workshops, I always ask them the question, well, how many think your group could get better? Of course, every hand goes up. How many think for your group to get better, something's got to change? Every hand goes up. How many think what has to change is something you can purchase? And rarely does anybody put their hand in. I was in the country of Texas doing one of these leadership workshops. And the place is packed. And I said, how many of you think what would make your group better is something you can purchase? And this hand flew up right in the center. And I'm like, you got it. I said, stand up. And this young lady stood up. I said, what are you going to buy to make your band better? She said, a new director. Oh. I had the same reaction. You want me to tell her she's wrong? And I tap danced around it. Don't worry. It was inappropriate. It was precocious. But she was right. You should have seen the directors on the side going, hell, is that my kid? Was that my kid? I'm serious. It's us. It still comes back to us. It's incredible. What's that great thing? It says, argue for your limitations and you get to own them. Now, if for those of you who are taking notes, I'm now going to give you the list of limitations that will keep your program from getting better. Okay? Got your paper out? Okay, here's the list. Now we're done. There's only one limitation. What is it? It's ourselves. Ourselves. We're the limitation. And I go, well, ding dong. They say when you blame something or somebody, you give up the power to make the change. So let's take it on. I mean, come on. We're music teachers, for crying out loud. We get paid to do what we love to do. Do we get paid a lot? No. But the wealth is in something different. And so I really want to come back to that to go, the giant knows that the giant is in charge. Now, I love this one. Because I always hear people go, Tim, you don't understand. I give 100% every week. Yeah, about 20% on Monday and 15% on Tuesday. Come on, it's fun. Oh, here's the good one. Tap the power within. The power within is all around us. Some of it's here, and some of it is those students that are willing to help. How many of you do marching band just out of curiosity? Why? No, I just haven't. Does anybody have a love-hate relationship with it? You love it, you hate it? Okay, me too. You're standing out there going, I'm in a sleet storm, and telling them this will build character. No, you're not. But a few years ago, I was judging a marching band show. Now, for that kind of fun, you can just take a dull pencil and jam it in your eye for a while. Right? And, you say, more aggressive support, you gotta listen, and all the, cliche phrases. And this little band came out, and they were so good. I mean, first of all, I thought, oh, you should, if the band's only like 38 people, you probably shouldn't be out here. That was my first, prejudiced comment. And then I listened, oh my God, they were good. They phrased, it had balance. They would turn the phrase around, they had soloists, and I'm just... Now in the back are 6 or 7 flags just completely out of control. They're like lancing each other as they go by. They're being silly and it's obvious they don't know what to do, and it was just like, this is such a paradox here. So after the session, after we did the contest, then they could come in and talk to us that were adjudicating. So in comes this young man, and he's got 3 of his students with him, and there's a lady behind him. And he said, I'm so eager to talk to you. He said, I want to learn. And he says, okay if I bring my students here. And I said, oh, sure, fine. I said, really, the truth is, I want to learn from you. I said, how did you do this? Oh, he said, we just work hard. I said, well, how many assistants do you have? Oh, he goes, I don't have any assistants. He said, I do it all myself. We said, how do you get the kids to play like that? They all taking private lessons? Oh, no. He said, we're from a very community that doesn't have very much money. So most of the kids are on free and reduced lunch. I said, come on, tell me the secret. He said, well, we have kind of a private lesson thing. He said, we take the first chair players and they get free lessons from the local college students, and we pay for them. Our little band boosters pay for them. But he said in return, they have to come back and teach the lesson to everybody in their section. And I'm like, brilliant. You know, they say, whoever they is, we don't know who they is, they say, if you want to learn to do something really well, teach it. That's supposed to be the highest form of learning. And these kids are standing aside, and they're writing, and I'm like, tell me about you. What do you guys do? Oh, well, I'm in charge of this, and I do this. And they're serious. In the back is this lady like, aha, the flight captain, right? So I didn't know whether to say something to him or not, because he was doing such a remarkable job. But here's this mess in the back. And I'm like, okay, the teacher in me comes out. I got to do this. I can't let this go by. I said, Kevin, I said, you've done such a great job at this. I said, how do you feel about the execution of your flags? And he leaned over and he went, I'm in favor of it. What's behind us and what's ahead of us is nothing compared to what's within us. Here's the fourth one. Oh boy. Well, think about that tap of power within. Really go back and you know, oh, my kids couldn't do this, my kids couldn't do this. No, don't argue for those limitations. And you know what? They'll try it and some of them will mess up. You don't just assign them and then they go. No, you got to stay with them the whole time. But then all of a sudden you'll find you have time. You don't have to put up the chairs. You don't have to do the stands. They can take roll. They can count the oranges or whatever it is. You can put your face in that music and be the only teacher in school that ignites that kid with art. And we know when that side of the brain triggers, we know it opens up all kinds of things. That's where penicillin came from. That's where all the magical creations come from. Whenever they find a cure for cancer, and let's hurry up on that one, it's going to be some musician. Because just read about Einstein. What was his favorite subject in school? It was music. And he would always say, I come up with these ideas when I'm playing my music. So that's not an accident. Now here's the one. Oh, I don't like this one. The real giants have the ability to sidestep the jealous ego. Now we all have it. And it controls us, and we all try to control it, and just the minute you think you got that ego under control is when it bites you in the butt, doesn't it? Excuse me, my wife is insisting that we live on Mackinac Island. You know where that is? But nobody else does either, so don't feel bad. It's out in the middle of the lake on Upper Michigan. And she's great, so whatever she wants to do. We went to first grade together, so she knows more about me than anybody else. And if she wants to do that, we'll do that. And so this summer, I had one day off from all the leadership things. And Andrea said, fly into Lansing. I'll pick you up. We'll go up and we'll look at some properties on the island. Right? Okay, here we go. So I said, bring me a jacket because it's going to be cold. Now, I work with a little marching group. They're just the sweetest kids in the whole world. And they do this little marching, it's called drum corps, where it is. And they're called, and they pay and they go around. They are called the Blue Devils. That's what they call themselves. And so they're the sweetest kids in the world, and they give me stuff. Like they gave me a jacket with my name on and all that. So anyway, we get there, we swim across to the island, or however it works. And the girl behind the desk in the little hotel, we go in, I have my jacket on, and this girl goes, you're Dr. Tim. And I'm like, Andrea. You think I'm out there messing around? Check us out, right? And I said, well, there's lots of Dr. Tims. She said, no. She said, the band guy, the guy that does the leadership stuff. And she said, I went to your leadership workshops when I was in high school, and she was in some school in Detroit. And she said, that convinced me to be in band when I went into college. And, oh, my. And she's just, oh. And I'm just like, yeah. And Andrea, ha. And then this girl, she looks out the jacket and she goes, oh my God. She said, you know the Blue Devils? And I said, yeah. She goes, no, I don't mean do you know. I mean, do you know them? Do you actually know them? I'm like, yeah. She goes, oh my God, this is great. She goes, Dr. She said, can we have our picture taken together? Andrew. I said, sure. I said, we'll take the luggage up and I'll come back and we'll have our picture taken. And Andrew's just rolling her eyes like, he thinks he's such hot crap, right? So anyway, I go up and I come back down, and the little girl's name was Melissa. I said, Melissa, you ready for the picture? And she goes, where's the jacket? I said, what? She goes, you don't have your jacket on. Oh, I said, you want the jacket in the picture? She goes, yeah, and I'll be right back. So I go up. I come back down, and we're standing. She keeps pulling the jacket over so she could see what it said in the picture. Finally, I said, hey, Melissa, I said, I have an idea. I said, why don't you wear the jacket, and I'll take a picture of you? She goes, that's the best idea yet. That's a really good idea. It had nothing to do with me. It had, and my wife hasn't let me forget it since. It had to do with the jacket. We're worth what we give. We can only give what we have. So when you come to events like this, you get more to give more. I mean, I love these quotes, and as you get older, you hang on to them. Success has nothing to do with what you gain in life or accomplish for yourself. It's what you do for others. It's written by Danny Thomas. And for those of us who are old enough to remember him, I mean, that was St. Jude was his whole life. He gave his whole fortune to St. Jude. You know, why do rich people give their money away? Because there's nothing else to do with it. And we keep saying, that's it, and I run and I grab the brass ring, and then you get it and you go, that's not it. I mean, didn't you grow up? Where's my college people in here? Where's the college people? Well, first of all, you're joining the best profession in the whole world, so welcome aboard. Thank you. Absolutely. So we play this game. I can't wait until. And as soon as we get that, then we're going to be happy. Then we're going to be satisfied. Then we're going to be joyous. Then we're going to express ourselves at the highest level of life. Didn't in high school you go, I can't wait to get out of high school. This is so immature. I can't wait to get out of high school, to go to college, to be around music, because that's what I love. And then you get to college, you're like, whoa, what's this ear training stuff? Right? Piano? You want me to play the piano? How many have to play piano? How many went to college not knowing how to play piano? That's not fair, is it? How many went to college knowing how to play the piano? That's not fair. You remember when you had to do that? I can remember because you had to sight read. That's pretty easy. And then you had to play something by ear. That's pretty good. I got pretty good ears. But then when they bring that back, you had to play Star Spangled Banner, and then they would put a fresh piece of music in front of you. Remember? And you had it was like some little hymn or something. And you had to play that accurately, and then you could pass on. And I remember going, oh, I hope it's not hard. Oh, I hope it's not hard. So they threw it in front of me. And somehow you think if you get that first chord, you're going to be okay. Kind of well done, maybe. Yes. And piano faculty have no sense of humor about this at all. So they said, now, Tim, we're not interested in how fast you play. We're interested in how accurately you play it. Well, there's the loophole right there, isn't it? They said, Tim, you count off a tempo that's comfortable for you. Get that tempo, and then, just hold it steady. Have I told you people how much I've enjoyed working with you? And I'm doing everything I can to get through this thing. 1. And. A month and a half later, I finished. It's all ego stuff. You all know Charlie McGee, Vandercook. When he got to be president, Charlie's one of my students, I worship the ground he walks on. And when he got to be president, he had me up and we did a thing like a director's session or something like that. And the first day he was president, I stayed at his house. We came in the next morning and we went up to the steps to open the door, and there had been geese around there who had left their calling cards. And you could just see Charlie going, oh no, we're going to have guests and everything. And God bless his heart. He ran in there and grabbed towels and he's down on his hands and knees, cleaning up goose poop. And I said, how is it being president? And he said, that's what we do. That's what we do. We do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether we want to do it or not without anybody asking. Bingo. There's your giant right there. Not putting it off, not setting it back. So I look at this and I go, if you have a student leadership program, and for some of you it's not going to work. If you're a control person, or freak is the word I was going to use, but I didn't. If you're a control person and you have to have your thumbprint on everything, don't have student leaders, they'll drive you nuts. If you're a person that wants to grow and you know that you can't go any faster than you are right now, you can't make any better use of time, that's it right there. That's where the giant's going to grow, by putting them into action. So every time we do this, I go, you know, here's the thing. It's about the ego, too. If you have a student leadership program, every time something goes right, they get the credit. Not you anymore. Every time something goes wrong, you take the blame. Now, some of us don't like that because our egos don't like it. But I'm back to how important you are again. I shouldn't tell you this, though. I was judging the marching band. Everybody tells a story, and I actually did. I was judging the marching band contest. I was down in the field, and this absolutely was the worst group. It was terrible. I mean, it was just terrible. And I've got that tape recorder, and I will not say something bad to a kid. I will not get on a kid's face. And so I'm walking around going, well, you have pants on. Or at least most of you do. And I walked to the side around the little end, and I heard somebody talking. And I looked up, and this little clarinet player had her clarinet out of her mouth, and she's just looking at me. And I looked, the minute you make eye contact, now you got communication, right? And I looked over at her, and she goes, isn't this terrible? So it's pretty weak. So I'd give anything not to be here. I was just thinking the same thing. The real good one knows this. You constantly build relationships. I was in a think tank. You know what a think tank is? It's where people get together and they're supposed to come up with some, Mark and I and a whole bunch, really some great minds. Branson was in it, all those people. And we spent 4 days trying to decide what made a great music teacher. And we had graphs and charts and ideas, and it got down to this. This is what it got down to. The ability to create a trusting relationship with your student. It didn't say the person that had perfect pitch or could play 16 notes at 160. It said the one who has a trusting relationship. Now, does that mean they're your friends? Oh, Lord, no. It means they trust you know what you're giving them. And again, if we don't study our scores, where's that going to be? No significant learning occurs without a significant relationship. Amazing, isn't it? So I look and I go, do my kids trust me? Do I shortchange them? Do I sometimes bend the truth a little bit because it's in my favor? Or do I say, no, you are better than that. I'm not going to let you trombones settle for that. You're better players than that. Now come on, let's get out of here. Instead of just saying, spoon feed me. Because when we do, they musically paint by numbers. And when we musically paint by numbers, it's not art. It doesn't connect with anything. We're tracing. Oh, wow, you're so good. And every kid in there is going, I'll do what you tell me to do. You're the engine, they're the train. The train isn't going to go faster than the engine. You're the sleeping giant. Okay, this next one is, I know this upsets people. The sleeping giant has a realistic sense of humor. Now, does this mean you're a comedian? No. This just means sometimes you have to laugh at who? Yourself. How many have ever made a mistake? How many have ever made a mistake conducting? Really? And instead of just going, you just have to laugh. I mean, those of you who do marching band, you've got to laugh at this. Come on. Some kids, most kids can't sit and play their horns sitting there. You take them outside. See if they can do it going backwards with a flag and up through their leg. I love this because I got this from a study. You know what happens when you're in the presence of joy? When you're in the presence of joy, your body squirts serotonin in your brain. That's the creative drug. That's a drug that makes us feel good. That's the drug that puts us at peace. When we're agitated or anxious, it throws in adrenaline mixed with cortisol. and that's where people get ulcers and don't like anything. So here's what the researcher wrote. The place of humor as a social phenomenon on teaching cannot be underestimated. Human beings are the only creatures, the only species that laughs. Research has revealed that humor plays a significant role in building a harmonious relationship between student and teacher. Now, well, Tim, you know, people make fun of you all the time because you're into all that positive stuff. You're into all that happy, feel-good stuff. What do you say to them when they say that's just a bunch of malarkey? I say you're right, because for them, it is a bunch of malarkey. We become what we think we are. Henry Ford, whether you think, don't take them out now, guys. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you are always correct. I mean, come on. Look, it's our likenesses that bring us together. It's our differences that keep us together. So if we're going to come here to this incredible convention, clinic, whatever it is, and sit there and go, oh, I can't believe the horn's cracked on that note. Come on. We need to be going the other way with it. I shouldn't tell you this. I was sitting there, and I just get upset when people put down kids. I'm like, come on, they're doing this above and beyond the call of duty, and you're making fun of them. So I was sitting there a few years ago, still when it was over in the Hilton, and this little band from the cornfields of Ohio was playing, and this school had like 220 in it or something, and this guy had 90 people in the band, and they were just incredible. And they were struggling a little bit. There was, you know, intonation, and the guy beside me leaned over and he goes, glad that's not my band up there. I said, same here. Same here. I'd rather hear that one. Come on. We can all be here. We can all do this. When serotonin goes in the brain, it creates cleverness. And that's what stems us to creativity. I love the Picasso story. Like he was an artist or something, right? I love it. I don't know if you know this or not, but he was an army old dude. He was army. And he would have these lavish parties at his house. And they'd bring in food and drink and music. And then when it was over with, they would send him the bill for this party, you know, some outrageous number, like $100,000. And he would write him a check for $100,000 and then flip it over and put a drawing on the back. You going to cash that check? You got a Picasso. And they said, you don't know how many checks people did not cash because they had a Picasso on the back. Isn't that clever? I would never thought of that. My roommate, who was in college, who was one of the best musicians I was ever around, he would send his Christmas cards. This is the way he sent his Christmas card. He would address it to himself, put whoever he wanted it to go to in the return address, throw it in the mailbox, and not put a stamp on it. They delivered his cards for free until he died. It was incredible. No, I'm not going to argue with people who say, oh, that's all nonsense, and the only way you can get kids to work is to threaten their lives and blah, blah. I'm not going to argue. For them, that's right. For Presbyterians think they're right. The Catholics think they're right. The Baptists know they're right. The Lutherans don't have time to mess with any of these people. You see, and we all think we're right. So when somebody wants to argue with it, it's just a waste of time. That's why I say it. This isn't for everybody. There's people who just really cannot delegate very well. And when you don't, you're going to take mistakes back in the face. That's part of it. This is number 7. I love this one. The value of knowledge when it morphs into wisdom. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge is not it. Knowledge when it's used to be wise, to integrate into life is it. That's where, how many of you know if people talk during a band rehearsal, an orchestra rehearsal, whatever it is, how many of you know that will slow down the forward progress of that group? Absolutely. Let me see. Yeah. Does anybody says the more my kids talk, the better it'll sound? How many of you have people within your group that talk during rehearsal? Well, what? They didn't get the memo? You told them not to talk. It's not the information. How many of you know donuts are bad for you? How many eat donuts? It's not the information. When you play with alcohol and all that stuff, it's not the information. It's what we do with it. And that's some of my charge against higher education sometimes. Because I'm no good at getting straight A's. I get straight A's. I was valedictorian in my class. I was homeschooled, but I did. I mean, I've got so much knowledge I'm never going to use, and I've forgotten most of it. How many took algebra in high school? How many could not pass an algebra test right now if you had to? This is great. This is from Akita. Knowledge alone cannot give rise to value. It's only when knowledge is guided by wisdom that value is created. The font of wisdom is found in the following elements: an overarching sense of purpose, a powerful sense of responsibility, and finally, the compassionate desire to contribute to the welfare of mankind. I mean, yummy. I just have this feeling that when we go, wherever we go, somebody's going to look us in the face and go, were you all that I wanted you to be? Did you waste any of it? Or did you give it all away? Are you empty? And that's why the rich people give money away. Because they find out that wasn't it. Or they find out that cool car wasn't it. Maybe you have to have it to know you don't have to have it. What is it is in here. And the minute we don't awaken that giant, everybody around us loses. Now, I can't say anything about your own personal life. You do what you want to in your personal life. But if my kid is in your orchestra or band, I'm going to say something. Because I'm paying your salary. And that's where those of you who are successful. Now, if you don't hear anything else, hear this. Successful people do not know how to be not successful. You put them anywhere and they'll create success. Because that's their patterns of life. That's their wisdom. You take them in the worst situation in the world and they'll build something out of it. They'll create something out of it. So we keep waiting for something to come in to make it happen. Instead, it's something that has to go out that has to happen. So I look at this. And you know, a lot of people do leadership and they think it's telling the kids what to do. No. Managers do things right. Leaders do right things. They have to create this on their own. They have to come up with it on their own. So I look at this and I go, okay, everybody wants to get rid of some of that stuff, but can we do the one-room schoolhouse again? Supposedly it was the most effective form of learning ever in our educational system because everybody in the school was a teacher. So when we can give that away and teach it to them, are the high school kids teaching the middle school kids? Do we have that bond? Is there a big brother, big sister thing? So forth. Here's number 8. Music is a place for everybody. Music is a place for everybody. I apologize, Liz, and these people who've heard this story before. But each year, I pick out, just in my own mind, somebody who I think is the best teacher of the year. I just, arbitrary. With that award, the quarter, you can't get Coke out of the machine. So it's not a big deal. It's just something that I picked up on. So anyway, I was doing the Bands for America thing, Music for All, whatever. And my job is I go get the group, and I talk to the director, and I give them Valium and stuff like that. And then I bring them on, and we get set, and I get the drum major, and boom, and off we go. A couple of years ago, I go back, and I know most of the people. Some of you are in here. I know you. I know your kids, right? I went back, and it was a new director. And he came out to meet me. Dr. Tim. I said, well, hi, how are you? He goes, oh my gosh. He said, this is so exciting. He said, would you come over and talk to my kids? Yeah. He goes, we're using essential elements. And they're all like, hey. I'm like, hey. I'm hearing it. And I said, it's great to have you here. And he goes, oh, he said, we're not competitive. He said, I just want the kids to see this kind of excellence. He said, we earned a lot of money to come here. And he said, we're going to do our little show. And he said, they watch some of it, and then we're going to stay and watch the rest of the groups. He said, this is so much fun. So I take them out. And then I go over to get the marimbas and the chimes and the PowerPoint and whatever it is they bring in there, right? And I noticed this one young man looked different. I think it was Down syndrome. And he had his uniform on, he had his little box there, and I'm like, oh, is this guy great? He found out a way to include this kid. He's going to help set up the pit area. Oh, this is a great director. So the little guy goes out, he sets down, opens up the box, he takes a piece of paper out and clips it on. And then he takes a drum pad out and he sets it down. And then he picks up his drumsticks. And I'm like, oh, I gotta check this out. So I walk behind to look at what the paper says. And on the top it said Lenny's part. And it was like, whole note, 15 measures rest. Whole note, 15 measures rest. 2 half notes. The guy had written a part for the kid. Now, anybody here percussionist besides me? Remember to show up? Be nice. The reason they built drum pads is so you can't hear anything. You can't hear it. You can beat the crap out of it, you still can't hear it, right? And I watched this young man, and he was just, and boy, that drum, he was like, counted out. Now, he got done before everybody else did. And when he was done, his sticks went up. And I'm going, oh, this is incredible. And I look back at the parents, and one of the mothers was just sobbing, just because, well, it was obviously his mom. So they finish, everybody puts the stuff away, and then they always go down with their picture taken, you know? Well, then he put his stuff away, and when the band flipped to go down, he went out, he gave his mom a hug, and then he got back in and he went down. And then they always kind of put the drum major in the center, and they draped the band around them for the picture, you know? No, this director put Lenny in the center. His sticks up. And I'm standing there just crying like a baby. I'm just like, and so they finished, and the guy, I said, come here, Rick, come here. I said, what? And I said, I just watched this thing. I said, that's unbelievable. I said, you found a way to include that young man. And he stood back and he goes, well, you say it all the time. Music's a place for everyone. Oh my gosh. That's what the giant knows. If you can fog a mirror, we got a place for you, right? We have a percussion section, so this is what we're going I want you, everybody stand up. It's going to be fun. Everybody stand up. It's going to be fun. Since we're getting towards the end of the year. And the reason I'm doing this is so you can see why we're doing what we're doing. Let's do Old Lang Syne just on ah. So we don't do the words. Ah, is the middle. 2, 3. How did you do that?
I can't sing, I'm sorry.
How did you know to split in 171 harmonic waves? Unbelievable. You couldn't write an arrangement of Old Lang Syne that good. Oh, God is telling us something now. I did it for you, for crying out loud. You can't balance a budget, but you can sing Old Lang Syne from memory. Amazing. Because when we learn anything with music, it stays with us. It myelinates that mind map, and it stays with us forever. That is the same scaffolding people put on math and science and architecture and law school and med school. You create successful people. I want them there because of music. But if everybody wants them there because of success, I'll take it. I'll say whatever I have to say to get that kid in there. Because I can't teach them music if their butt's not in C. So whatever I have to say to allow that parent to know, this is going to change your kid's life. He or she will be better because of it. Or do we just go on, the parents go on to say no? Or do, I'm going to be in it next semester. Do we call the parent and talk to them and say, do you have any idea? Does that giant pick up the phone and say, I'm not letting Carrie quit. She is incredible. And it's going to change her life. She just got in a fight with her boyfriend, and he's sitting beside her in bed. That's what's going on right now. And I kicked him out. So now we got to carry out. My last giant story. And you've been great. And when you leave, they have a pass out for you. Alec, are you around anywhere? Did Alec show up? Oh, there. Turn around. Wave again, Alec. Alec Harris is the president of GIA Publications, and we have the new 12-week student leadership curriculum out, and just because he's the nicest guy in the whole world, he's giving you chapter 1. He's just going to hand it to you out there. So I'll go up in the booth afterwards and hang out. Thank you, Alec. So here's my best giant story, and then we'll get out of here. And thank you for showing up. You have so many choices. And it's like a reunion out there. I get to see everybody. Does anybody know the name Eric Wademeyer? Eric Wademeyer is the first blind guy to climb Mount Everest. He's stone blind. He climbed Mount Everest and the 6 other highest peaks in the world, including the one in Antarctica. And about 4 years ago, I was doing a thing in Italy for administrators from American schools around the world. And they put 2 keynotes back to back. Eric Wademeyer was the first one. I was the second one. Mama! I called my wife between, and I said, she goes, what are you calling him? This is a long, you know how much this call's going to cost? And I said, Andrea, this is what's happened, and I just feel terrible. She goes, Tim, that's why you're there. Now you get out there and do what you do. I said, what if they don't like me? She said, there is so many people that don't like you. Then I said, well, sometimes I wonder if you'd like me, couldn't get your new car. She goes, just listen to me, young man. She said, if you were a total failure, I would still love you. She said, I would miss you, but I would still. So I think this is her point. You got to keep producing, right? So anyway, after his speech, and it shows him on the time on Mount Everest and Time magazine and all this sort of thing, I went up to him and I said, I will give you any amount of money to have lunch, dinner, breakfast with you. I said, I want some one-on-one time with you. Really nice young man. Oh, sure. He said, I have to come to my hotel room to get me because I can't get down to the cafeteria. Oh, great, I will. I got so excited when I was talking to him, I let go of him and he ran into a plant. I'm like, oh, no. Sorry. So we get down there. I got to read the menu to him. I got to say, here's your iced tea over here. It was incredible. So we get through the meal and the little chit-chat stuff. And then we finished, and I said, all right, now, let's cut to the chase scene. I said, how did you do it? He said, how did I do what? I said, how did you get to the top of Mount Everest? He started laughing. He goes, oh, that was easy. No, that's not easy. People die trying to do that. Many. And most people turn back. I said, how did you do it? He said, I just kept putting one foot in front of the other. I said, my God. I said, weren't you scared? He goes, I can't see. He said, I had no idea what the risk factor was. He said, I probably shouldn't tell you this, Tim. But he said, when we got to the top, I was going to take another step. And he said, they all grabbed me and went, we made it! We made it! Look, isn't it beautiful? Then he started reaching over to try to grab my arm. I put my arm out, and he laid a death grip on my arm. He goes, hey, Tim, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Ouch. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Would that giant wake up? Would it come out and take on everything? Would the standards go up? Would excellence go up? Would you finally realize that what you can give a child is a life of success forever? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Just thank you for being